Most people still imagine Japanese high school like an anime, but the real version feels completely different. Right now in Japan, there are kids who can't even look at their school uniform without feeling anxious. Some haven't gone outside in months. Some panic before they even leave the house, and when I first saw that number, I assumed it was just extreme academic pressure. These are not troubled kids. Many of them were the most motivated students in their class. They are not avoiding school because they want to. Something inside them has broken. It is not weakness. It is not a generation problem. The school system is doing 3 specific things to these kids every single day. And honestly, some parts of it are starting to show up outside Japan too. That's the part that really got my attention. The first thing that shocked me was something called Black Kousoku. Basically, these are school rules that become so extreme, they start controlling parts of a student's life that honestly shouldn't matter. And we are not talking about uniforms. Uniforms are standard. We are talking about rules that dictate the exact color of your underwear, the permitted color and length of your socks. Schools that have required students with naturally wavy or brown hair to chemically straighten it and dye it black, just to pass inspection. This is documented. In Nagasaki Prefecture, investigators found that nearly 60% of public middle and high schools required students to wear white undergarments. Some schools reportedly checked compliance in ways that drew national criticism and public outrage. Imagine being 13 and having that normalized around you. Now think about what that does to a child's mind over time. For 8 hours a day, that student is not learning. They are monitoring themselves. Every movement, every piece of clothing, every strand of hair, scanning constantly for anything that might make them a target. I will be honest with you. Growing up, I was a sensitive kid. The fear of being judged or looked down on, that alone was enough to make me anxious at school. And I had none of this pressure around me. Now, take a child who is naturally sensitive, or neurodivergent, a child whose brain works even slightly differently, and put them into a system where any deviation from the invisible rulebook makes them a public target. A teacher who spent years working in Japan left a comment on a video like this that I keep coming back to. They wrote, "Kids get berated in front of the entire class for forgetting a textbook. Some teachers cause real psychological damage, trying to force a square peg into a round hole." That is the reality of what Black Kousoku creates. The system does not build discipline, it demands invisibility. And for any child whose brain does not fit that mold, the weight of it, 8 hours a day, 5 or 6 days a week, eventually becomes too much to carry. They do not refuse school because they gave up on learning. They refuse because their nervous system cannot survive one more day of that level of sustained threat. But let's say a student figures it out. Stays invisible, follows every rule perfectly. Why do they still end up in that bedroom? Because rules alone are not what finally breaks most kids. There is a second layer. The social cage with no exit. When most people hear the word bullying, they picture something physical. A shove, a stolen lunch, something you can see. Japanese bullying is almost never physical. It is psychological, and it is surgical. It is called Mura-hachibu, total social execution. When a student becomes a target, nobody hits them. Instead, 30 classmates simply decide that student no longer exists. No one speaks to them. Their desk gets quietly moved to the back corner. When they answer a question, the room goes completely silent. Not hostile, just empty, as if they are not there at all. For a child, that kind of erasure cuts deeper than any bruise ever could. And here is the part that turns difficult into unbearable. In the West, if a kid is struggling socially at school, the bell rings at 3. They go home, they call a different friend, they decompress. There is an exit. In Japan, there is no exit. Japanese schools require students to participate in Bukatsu, mandatory after-school clubs. The day does not end at 3. It ends at 6, sometimes 7. Sometimes Saturday practice is mandatory too. So a child who is being socially erased spends 10 to 12 hours a day, locked in the same building with the same students, with no alternative. No other social world to fall back on. No space to breathe. The school is not just where they study. It is their entire universe. When that universe turns against them, the brain does what brains are designed to do. It goes into survival mode. Fight or flight. But they cannot fight, and they cannot flee. The only door left open leads back to their bedroom. Futoko is not giving up. It is the last exit the system left them. At this point, the obvious question is, where are the adults? Why are teachers not stepping in? And honestly, this next part is the one that stayed with me the longest. The adults are not coming. Japanese teachers are among the most overworked professionals in the world. 60 to 80 hours a week, buried under administrative tasks, and with essentially no formal training in child psychology or mental health support. But it goes deeper than exhaustion. There is a concept in Japanese culture called Gaman. It means to endure what feels unendurable, quietly and with dignity. No complaints. Just push through. When a student finally starts to crack, when the anxiety and isolation and constant low-level fear accumulate into a visible breaking point, the culturally accepted response from the adults around them is often just this: tough it out. Everyone goes through hard times. Try a little harder. The teacher is exhausted. The parents assume the school knows best, and the child slowly realizes nobody is interrupting the pattern. A viewer once left a comment that I have thought about many times since. They wrote, "A culture built on conformity and saving face finds it almost impossible to confront abuses of power. The path of least resistance is always to sweep it under the rug." Because acknowledging the problem means admitting the school has failed. So they look away. Now imagine being 12 years old. You are being erased by the people around you. You are terrified of breaking a rule you cannot even fully see. Your body is running on low-level panic every single day. And when you finally show the adults that you are drowning, they tell you to swim harder. That child reaches one conclusion. Quietly. Completely. No one is coming to save me. That is not a dramatic thought. That is a rational one. And it is the final thing that closes the bedroom door. When you step back and look at 350,000 missing children, it is easy to frame this as a Japan problem. It is not. It is a warning. In physics, a solid object does not shatter simply because pressure is applied. It shatters when it is compressed between two hard surfaces at the same time, with no room to expand. The school system is the hammer, heavy, relentless, falling every single day. The tragedy happens when parents become the anvil. When school demands performance and conformity at all times, and home demands exactly the same thing, the child's nervous system has nowhere left to go. No cushion, no recovery, just pressure from both sides, simultaneously. I saw this once at a shopping mall. A boy, maybe 6 years old, crying in public. His mother leaned down, pointed at him, and said, "You are the stupidest kid in the world." Right there, strangers all around them. She did not know what she was doing, but in that moment she had aligned herself with the harshness of the world and left her son with absolutely nowhere to retreat. I am now a father of a 3-year-old girl. Studying this crisis made me set a non-negotiable private rule for my family. If the world is the hammer, I refuse to be the anvil. I will be the cushion. Growing up, I never really broke down, and I know why. My parents played this role without ever being told to. Even when my grades were bad, even when I was messing around and wasting time, they never crushed my dignity. That safe harbor they gave me is what gave me the confidence to eventually course correct and build something real. Your home has to be that place, not an extension of the pressure, the one place that does not crush. So, what does being the cushion actually mean? It starts with not letting school be your child's entire identity. In Japan, a kid's whole sense of self is built around being a student. So, when school fails, everything fails. Make sure that in your home, being a student is only one piece of who they are. Let them also be the kid who loves cooking, or climbs everything in sight, or is fiercely loyal to their friends. If the student identity takes a hit, the rest of them stays standing. It also means giving them a real decompression window when they get home, not asking about homework and test scores the moment they walk through the door. That question keeps the nervous system locked in exactly the mode they have been in all day. Give them 15 minutes first. Food, quiet, no agenda. Let the brain actually land before you make any demands of it. And most importantly, it means breaking the alliance with the system. Your job is not to enforce what the school started. When your child makes a mistake, correct the behavior, but do not touch who they are. Make sure they know, clearly and consistently, that your relationship with them has nothing to do with their grades or their ability to conform to external expectations. If the world is the hammer, refuse to be the anvil. Be the cushion. The 350,000 Japanese kids locked in their bedrooms are not broken. They are having a completely rational response to a system that stopped protecting them. A child can survive a hard school. What they usually cannot survive is the feeling that nowhere is safe. Our job is to make sure home interrupts that feeling, not continues it. If this gave you something to think about today, share it with one parent who needs to hear it. Until next time, diversify their identity, be the cushion, and trust the quiet. Welcome home.